We laid off not one single public servant. We sent home not one public servant. We told the IMF and the World Bank and the Central Bank, we will not send them home. And let me explain, Madam Speaker. This Labour Party has been castigated and demonized by the present government of achieving nothing in this country. We have done nothing. We have broken down all institutions. We have destroyed the moral fabric of the society of this country. We have created no wealth. We have created no opportunities for our people. But that is not so. That is the picture that the now UPP administration, the Sunshine government, would love history to record the Antigua Labour Party as being in office for 28 years. But that is not so. We have been responsible for the good quality of life that the citizens enjoy in this country. We have been responsible for the good infrastructure that you have inherited, the good state of the roads, the excellent telecommunications infrastructure that you have inherited. We have been responsible for the strong and vibrant banking system that they've inherited. We have allowed our citizens to save in excess of 1.2 billion Eastern Caribbean dollars in the banks in our local economy. They didn't do that, Madam Speaker. We did it. After all, Antigua was placed after Barbados as having the highest social index in the entire English Caribbean speaking countries. We were also responsible for employing 33% of the local workforce. Where do you hear in any country, small, developed, undeveloped country, that the central government employs 33% of the workforce? That is an attestation to the philosophy that the Antigua Labour Party believed in, that we were born of the working struggles of the working class people, and we must provide jobs for our people, and we must not send them home. We also provided 40% of the capital investment in this country, and then we are told by the Honourable Minister of Finance that Royal Antigua, Mount St. John, Heritage Key, the Vendors Mall, all these projects were deliberately designed and orchestrated to line the pockets of former Antigua Labour Party ministers. That they were not. Where's the proof? Where's the evidence of it, Madam Speaker? Every time they come to this Honourable House, they accuse former members of the LP administration of rampant and blatant corruption. Where is the evidence of it? They say I got $13.5 million from Michael's Mount, when the Honourable Prime Minister very well knows that is the late Maurice Michael family who owns Michael's Mount, and it had nothing to do with the estate of Patrick Michael. He knows that, and yet they repeat it throughout the length and breadth of this country, so that it becomes fiction now becomes fact. Perception now becomes reality. You throw enough mud at a glass, some bound to stick. Madam Speaker, for 7 years the Observer demonized me. They demonized me, they painted a picture of me wrecking the finances of the country, of me being fiscally imprudent, of me overspending the budget by $40 million, Madam Speaker. But I'm going to seek, even at the risk of sounding immodest tonight, Madam Speaker, I'm going to crave your indulgence. I'm going to crave your indulgence to set the record straight. Because I would like to tell you what the Derek had to say about his junior Minister of Finance. And at the risk of sounding immodest, I crave your indulgence to read from a letter written, Madam Speaker, by the former Financial Secretary of this country, Mr. Alphonse Derrick, who is the first cousin of Winston Derrick and the late Fergie Derrick, and who the current Prime Minister has great admiration for his financial ability and his skills. And the current Minister of Finance wished that he was still in the Ministry of Finance to assist him in this era of structural adjustment and austerity measures. He says here, and I quote, "When you called me in December 2001 and asked for a return to the Public Services Financial Secretary to assist you in taking over the Ministry of Finance, I was reluctant to do so for personal and family reasons. Then I did return his testimony to your persistence, persuasiveness, and strongly expressed commitment to rescue the country from its adverse financial and economic conditions. That was a time when Antigua and Barbuda experienced perhaps the darkest and most troubling period in its modern development. Taking control of the Ministry of Finance at that time was clearly a daunting challenge. Only a person of exceptional courage and genuine concern for the country would have been willing to do so. It was Asset Michael who proved not only willing, but able at a young age of 31 years old. Early in your tenure, concerted initiatives were taken to stabilize and improve the public finances. You also did nothing. We brought the Indian tax consultants here, Madam Speaker. They have sent them home. The Minister of Finance is not in agreement with that. He wants to bring them back. But you see, Madam Speaker, you see, there's such strong business interest that is contending, that is colliding with the interests of the country. And those strong financiers, those elitists and the aristocracy, they're running the show, Madam Speaker. We are not running the show in here, You may want to believe that Baldwin Spencer running the show. But this show ain't be running from here. This show is running from Newgate Street and Old Power Road. And you better believe that, Madam Speaker. And continue. In the interest of transparency and accountability, special efforts were made to bring the annual public accounts up to date. It's not they who brought the public accounts up to date. We brought the Indian tax consultants. It's Lester Bird as the substantive Minister of Finance, and I who brought them in.
They're not up to date.
And we brought the public accounts here. We brought up to 2002. Up to 2002 were laid in his honorable house. Through your instrumentality, such efforts were facilitated by several tax auditors who you call tax dogs. You said take up your cutlass and chop them up. And now you're asking the people of this country to pay taxes. You were then the leader of the opposition. But now it has shifted, your Prime Minister. But you call them tax dogs. It is those same tax dogs that the Minister of Finance is going to send back for. Because he realizes their usefulness. And those tax auditors and treasury specialists who were seconded by the government of India to assist Antigua and Barbuda in maximizing tax collection and upgrading its treasury operations. At the same time, you were earning the reputation of an astute and relentless negotiator. A case in point was the US $40 million loan from the Stanford Financial Group, and the manner in which you were able to obtain the best possible terms and conditions for the government and the country. Madam Speaker, it is disturbing. That loan, Madam Speaker, was particularly important in several respects. It allowed us to liquidate an easy $6 million debt to the University of the West Indies. They said we never paid our obligations. We never paid nothing regionally or internationally. It allowed us, Madam Speaker, to negotiate $2 million write-off of interest and penalties to the University of the West Indies. Proceeds from the Stanford loan were also used to settle outstanding obligations to the Caribbean Development Bank, thereby permitting resumption of the CDB disbursements for the multi-million-dollar basic education project in Antigua and Barbuda. That is the $40 million loan that we received for the basic education project to do all the schools that are being done, Madam Speaker. It is that $40 million US loan that I negotiated that triggered that loan from the CDB.
EC, sir.
Madam Speaker.
EC.
EC, Madam Speaker. $40 million US, $100 million EC, Madam Speaker. $40 million US from Stanford. The loan from Stanford.
I thought you
the
meant
loan
the
from
CDB.
CDB was $40 million EC.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Madam Speaker. I also recall discussions why you don't want to sit down and learn and hear the truth. I also recall the discussions with senior officials. See, if you had me as your advisor, you would not have been making all those mistakes you're making. You wouldn't make all the mistakes you're making.
Gentlemen.
Madam Speaker, I continue.
Gentlemen.
I also recall the discussions with senior officials of the Bank of Nova Scotia at their headquarters in Toronto, Canada. It was clear that the assembled senior vice presidents and directors of the bank found your portrayal of Antigua and Barbuda's current position and future prospects both eloquent and personal. It goes on and on, Madam Speaker. I'm not going to continue. I also, at the domestic level, got the bank